Steven Spielberg had an almost impossible task after Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. How do you conclude one of the most iconic adventure movie series ever made? With a few exceptions, third entries in the series are often thought of as the weakest, or among the weakest. Somehow, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade manages to not only live up to the previous two entries, but in my opinion actually surpasses them. This is my personal favorite Indiana Jones movie, and honestly, one of the most entertaining adventure films ever made. Raiders might be the most iconic, but Last Crusade is the one that I have the most fun watching. One of the things that immediately makes the movie stand out is the opening sequence with the young Indy. It's such a clever way to show how Indiana Jones became the person we know later on. You learn where he got the fedora, the whip, the scar on his chin, and even his fear of snakes. It never feels forced or unnecessary either. A lot of movies try to explain every little detail about a character and it comes across as fan service, but here it actually works because it's fun, fast paced, and perfectly captures the adventure spirit of the series. River Phoenix did an incredible job playing a younger version of Indy, too. He genuinely feels like Harrison Ford's character at a younger age instead of just someone doing an impression. But the real reason this movie works as well as it does is the relationship between Indiana Jones and his father. Sean Connery is absolutely perfect casting as Henry Jones Sr. The chemistry between him and Harrison Ford is incredible. They bounce off each other so naturally and provide some of the funniest moments in the entire franchise. This is easily the funniest Indiana Jones movie. The humor doesn't feel forced or overly goofy, it comes naturally from their personalities clashing. Indy is this rugged action-first adventurer, while his dad is more intellectual, awkward, and obsessed with history and research. Watching them argue while trapped in dangerous situations is hilarious. Whether they're escaping the bad guys, talking over each other, or embarrassing one another, the movie constantly finds ways to make their dynamic entertaining. Some of the funniest moments come from how frustrated Indy gets with his father, while Henry barely seems aware he's causing chaos around him. At the same time, though, there's actual heart underneath all the comedy. This movie is really about a father and son trying to reconnect after years of emotional distance. Indy spends most of the film desperate for approval from his dad, while Henry is so consumed by his obsession with the Holy Grail that he struggles to connect emotionally with his son. That gives the movie more emotional depth than people sometimes give it credit for. It's not just nonstop action and jokes, there's a real relationship at the center of the story. The adventure itself is fantastic too. The search for the Holy Grail gives the movie this large mythological feeling that fits perfectly with Indiana Jones. The traps, puzzles, and ancient mysteries are some of the best in the series. The final trials near the end of the movie are especially memorable, because they feel tense and clever instead of just relying on explosions or giant action scenes. The movie trusts the audience to pay attention and engage with the adventure. And of course, the bad guys return once again, which just fits perfectly for Indiana Jones. They're threatening, easy to root against, and they fill the pulpy serial adventure tone these movies are going for. Donovan and Elsa also make for solid supporting characters because there's this constant uncertainty about who can really be trusted. What I also love about the film is the balance. Raiders is amazing, but it's more intense and serious in a lot of ways. Temple of Doom went very dark and bleak. Last Crusade feels like the perfect middle ground. It has action, danger, emotional moments, mystery, comedy, and adventure all blended together almost perfectly. It captures the fun spirit of Indiana Jones better than any other film in my opinion. And there's the ending. Honestly, it's one of the most satisfying endings in movie history. Indy finally lets the Grail go instead of losing himself to obsession. His father finally calls him Indiana, showing that emotional connection they both struggle with the entire film. And then you get the perfect final shot of Indy, his father, Sala, and Marcus riding off into the sunset. It feels complete, it feels final, and it feels like the perfect conclusion to the story. That's honestly why I've always felt they should have stopped here. Last Crusade gave Indiana Jones the perfect ending. It wrapped up the character beautifully and ended the trilogy on such a high note that continuing afterward feels unnecessary. At the end of the day, Raiders may be the most iconic Indiana Jones film, but The Last Crusade is the one I enjoy the most. It's funny, adventurous, heartfelt, endlessly quotable, and just incredibly entertaining from beginning to end. Harrison Ford and Sean Connery are absolutely phenomenal together, Spielberg's direction is fantastic, and the movie perfectly captures everything that makes Indiana Jones special. This is adventure filmmaking at its absolute peak. For me, it gets an A+, a 10 out of 10, and 5 out of 5 stars.